March 3rd, 1876, Olympia Springs, Kentucky. A farmer's wife, Mrs. Crouch, is in her yard making soap. The sky is perfectly clear, and then, out of that clear blue sky, meat starts falling. Flakes of fresh red meat drifting down like horrifying snow. For several minutes over an area about the size of a football field, it rains meat on the Crouch family farm. This is a documented event. It was in Scientific American, samples still exist, and the eventual scientific explanation is somehow dumber than anything you are currently imagining. This is Oops History, true stories that sound fake. Today, the Kentucky meat shower. Setting the scene, rural Kentucky, 1876. Olympia Springs is a tiny community in Bath County. The Crouches keep a farm. It is an aggressively normal place, which matters, because normal places have witnesses with no reason to lie and no imagination to lie with. The meat came down in flakes, most about 2 inches across, some closer to 4. It landed on the grass, on the fences, snagged in the trees. Mrs. Crouch said it fell, quote, like large snowflakes. Her clear sky observation is the single most important fact in this case, so pin it. No rain, no wind, no storm. Just meat. Now, the correct response to unidentified sky meat is to not touch the sky meat. But this is 1876 Kentucky, and 2 local men looked at mystery flesh that had fallen from the heavens and made a decision that still echoes through science history. They ate some. 2 grown men picked up meat from the ground, meat of unknown origin that fell from the sky, and tasted it. For science, allegedly. Their expert culinary verdict, it was probably venison or possibly mutton. They were not sure, which means, and I need everyone to internalize this, they went back for a second bite. Word spread fast. The New York Times covered it, Scientific American covered it, samples were collected, dunked in preserving fluid, and shipped off to laboratories and collectors. This was national news. Kentucky, meat from sky, details unclear, so what was it? Time for the corkboard, because science took several beautiful swings at this. Theory 1 came from a scientist who declared the samples were nostoc, a bacterial colony that lies around as a dry crust and swells into gooey jelly when rain hits it. The idea? It was on the ground all along. Rain made it bloom. People assumed it fell. One problem, and Mrs. Crouch would like a word. There was no rain. The sky was clear. Nostoc theory requires calling the only eyewitness a liar, and the meat kept looking suspiciously like actual meat, because then histologists, tissue scientists, got their microscopes on the samples, and the results came back, and it was worse than anyone wanted. The samples included real animal muscle, lung tissue, cartilage. This was not space jelly. This was anatomy. One analysis even suggested the lung tissue could have come from a horse or a human infant, a range of options I would describe as unnecessarily upsetting. It was almost certainly the horse, to be clear, but 1876 lab reports had no chill whatsoever. Which brings us to the winning theory, proposed by a Kentucky professor named Dr. L.D. Castenbein, and beloved by every scientist who has looked at the case since. Are you ready? Vulture vomit. Here is your vulture fact of the day. Vultures gorge themselves on carrion, deer, sheep, whatever died recently, which conveniently matches venison or mutton, the actual taste test results. And yes, those men licked secondhand carrion. We will be moving on quickly. When a vulture is startled or needs to lighten up for takeoff, it projectile vomits its entire meal. It is a defensive weapon, a weight loss program, and a war crime, all in one bird. And here's the beautiful detail that seals the case. When one vulture in a flock vomits, others often join in. It cascades. So picture it. A flock of vultures, stuffed to the beak, cruising high over Olympia Springs, high enough that against a bright, clear sky, nobody sees them. One of them gets spooked and fires. The squadron follows suit. And down on the farm, out of an apparently empty sky, it begins to rain shredded venison over exactly 1 football field of Kentucky. Check every box. Clear sky. The birds were just too high to notice. Meat identified as deer or sheep. That's the carrion menu. Lung, muscle, cartilage in the samples. That's what's inside a vulture's lunch. Localized shower a few minutes long. That's one flock, one panic. The Kentucky meat shower was a flyby yak attack. The sky over Bath County was briefly the inside of a bird's stomach. And this is history, so of course there's a relic. At least one preserved sample of the 1876 meat survives to this day in a museum collection at Transylvania University in Kentucky. Yes, Kentucky has a Transylvania University. This state is a gift where you can gaze upon a jar of Victorian vulture vomit like it's a crown jewel. Because at